Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour on the most dangerous show on the airwaves. While the President of the United States is lowering utility prices across the U.S., Seattle is spiking them. And Rubio says after U.S. service members killed by Iran, eye for an eye. Does that mean things are about to get dialed to 11? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Yesterday, we spoke a little bit about Sophie Cunningham. If you don't know who Sophie Cunningham is, Sophie Cunningham plays in the WNBA. I'm not surprised you don't know who she is because a lot of people don't know the names of any of the players in the WNBA. Let's go back and remember that great Shane Gillis moment when he was doing stand-up comedy for the ESPYs, the ESPN Awards. And he stood up on stage and he called out a person in the audience as a player for the WNBA, and everybody applauded. Everybody's like, woo! And he goes, yeah, that's my friend's wife. None of you know any players in the WNBA. And the whole room felt stupid because they're all cheering for her. They had no idea who she was, and she's laughing. And his buddy's laughing. He won a bet with his friend over that one. A lot of people don't know what goes in the WNBA. But she is national news right now. And she is national news for standing up for women's sports at a time where we here in Washington need it most. It kind of feels like, for those of us in political circles, that all the emphasis is being put on repealing the income tax right now. As well it should be. There's a lot of emphasis that needs to go into repealing the income tax because we know what it'll do to the economy. And if we lose jobs, if we lose money, if more people move out, that's it. That's the ball game. We know how this ends. We know it's an important fight. But that's one of 3 initiatives on the ballot this November. The first one is, of course, the income tax. IP 26645. Stop the income tax. Repeal the income tax, as Washingtonians have done at least 10 times before now. They have voted 10 times, if not 11. One is questionable. 10 times, if not 11, to stop the income tax, to stop an income tax. Washington businesses have been able to thrive here. People have been able to thrive here. You know who benefits off that? Nonprofits, even the Democrat ones. Because then all these people who are on the left who make all this money can give money to the nonprofits or whatever else they want, like political campaigns. May not be very helpful for what we're doing here politically, but you know what? They're going to see a major hit if all that money goes away. What, you think they're going to continue contributing to governors' campaigns and to mayoral races and legislative candidates? If those jobs are gone, no, they're going to go contribute to them in another state. There are 2 other initiatives that it just feels like, from the pulse of Washington, are getting left behind in the conversation. The first one is IL 26001, strengthening communications between parents and schools so a school cannot hide what is going on with your kid. So the school isn't calling your son a girl's name without you knowing about it, or an animal's name without you knowing about it. So that way they're not hiding on what's going on with your kid's grades. Or if, God forbid, some teacher did something awful to your kid, which the Democrats tried to make it so that teachers had a longer amount of time to circle the wagons on those in the last legislative cycle. Luckily, we were able to shut that down. That's one of the other initiatives. The third one is, of course, IL 26638. Which is protecting fairness in girls' sports, which would stop boys from competing in girls' sports. Stop letting boys in girls' locker rooms. We just did a story earlier this week about a woman who was at her 10-year-old daughter's first ever swim meet at the Linwood Rec Center. She goes into the locker room, and there is a fully intact man showering in there. She saw all the kibbles and bits. And when she confronted this guy, he said, "I'm trans," probably in the deepest voice you've ever heard in your life. That's what we're dealing with. And when you tell people in other states that's what you're dealing with, they think we're nuts. They think we're crazy. Of course a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, and a boy cannot become a girl. You cannot change your DNA. You are not fooling anybody. Nobody thinks you are, except for maybe you and the people who affirm your mental illness. You want to do that after you're of a certain age? Fine. But doing that to kids, that's insane. Absolutely insane. What's even more insane is that we have laws on the books here in Washington that if your kid wants to do this to themselves and they are under the age of 18, if they are 13 or older, Washington State will not just hide your kids from you. They will give them those procedures. They will hide them from law enforcement legally, and you can do nothing about it. And we've already had multiple documented cases of this happening. It should be a simple thing for everybody to say, a girl is a girl, a boy is a boy. And unfortunately, there's far too few people actually doing that. LeBron James, undoubtedly, unquestionably, the biggest star in the NBA. You never heard him speak out on any of this stuff. It's just, how big is his next contract going to be? What city is he going to be in? Maybe try selling his sneakers. Sorry, dude, you're never going to be Jordan no matter how hard you try. And maybe ask him to talk about the stuff that goes on between the NBA and China. No, he won't do that. He won't do that. Then there's Sophie Cunningham. We have made fun of the WNBA a lot on this show. Probably more than any other show in the area, if not the country.
I'm going to speak up for some people who, when you say we on this show, you, my friend, you.
That is fair. That is very, very fair.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the biggest fan. I've gone to a couple of games.
Yeah.
I have a good time when I go.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm the biggest fan in the world, nor that I could name the players on the team.
Right.
But don't include me in your making fun of that.
I, Ari Hoffman, have made fun of the WNBA a lot. I have made fun of women's basketball a lot. And you know what? I can admit right now, Sophie Cunningham, tougher than LeBron James, braver than LeBron James. You ever see LeBron James play basketball? Man, that guy takes more falls than those Europeans in soccer. I've never seen anything like it before. By the way, Kevin, I did watch a few minutes of that last World Cup game. Why is everybody falling every 10 seconds? Nobody's touching them, and they're falling, and they're falling. I'm like, I don't like this sport. It's not my jam.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the specifics and the reasons because I barely know it either, but I've also heard it's to get a rest.
Okay. So
because the clock doesn't stop in that game.
Right, I understand that. Okay, but whatever the case may be, it's dumb. LeBron James does it. Oh, I got a hangnail. Down he goes. That's LeBron James. We've all seen the tapes. We all know what happens. Sophie Cunningham has a sneaker coming out this week. Do people really buy the WNBA sneakers? Well, maybe the girls do. I assume the boys don't, but maybe the girls do. That's a big deal for any athlete. Your own sneaker is coming out. You're being profiled by ESPN. Everybody's talking about you because of your viral moments of calling out the opposition on behalf of your teammate, pointing at them, going to UFC fights, all of that. She's got a lot to lose. LeBron James can say whatever he wants, and he's still going to be LeBron James. Sophie Cunningham opens her mouth. She's got a sneaker coming out by Adidas. You know that Adidas is one of the wokest sneaker companies. We have actually talked about them a lot on this show. They have canceled things for far, far less. And during her ESPN interview, she talks about fairness in girls' sports. Now, this is what we knew yesterday. She was interviewed by ESPN, and of course, because ESPN is ESPN, they buried her comments on this 40 paragraphs down in the article. It's a very long, very detailed article. To give benefit of the doubt to ESPN, even though they don't deserve it as being part of Disney, they're a sports magazine, and maybe talk about the sports first. But this is the thing. You buried the lead here, guys. The first big major name athlete to say girls' sports belong to girls. So what did she say? She says, I got a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans. And I'm like, I never once said that. She said, I think that I'm here to extend love, but I also think that with love is truth, being honest. And I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in a sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. 5 minutes ago, that is not a controversial statement. Now, all of a sudden, it's a controversial statement. And people are calling her a bigot and a hate monger and a racist and everything you hate trans people, calling her every name in the book for saying something that is scientifically, biologically correct. Now, we've seen this movie before. A celebrity says something, then they get called out on it, and they cave. And they absolutely cave. Well, that's not Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham, in fact, doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down, and I don't know what the right word is after that. Fintuffle? I don't know what the word is after that because I don't think anybody's ever done it before. She's being interviewed yesterday and got a few reporters who keep coming after her on this topic, not about the game. And here's what she said.
On that same vein, in that story with ESPN, you talked about wanting to protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children. And that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like, taking any form going forward? You know,
I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Do you think?
Okay, I'm going to stop there for a second. Twice she was given the opportunity to back down. Twice, oh, that wasn't really what I meant. It was taken out of context. And twice she doubled down on this. Good on her. Then here comes this reporter from The Athletic.
I guess along the line like that, it goes against perhaps. Some people might say, hey, for the trans community, this could be something that could come back on us or be targeted against us. Like, how do you, I guess, view that sort of critique?
Like I said, I extend love, and I don't dislike anyone. Like, I think there is room for absolutely everyone here, and I think there's room to love everyone. And I truly think when you get people in the same room and you have conversations, you actually have a lot in common with a lot of people. And so I'm there to love, but I'm also there to love biological women, and I think that there are rights that need to be protected. And like I said, I'm going to stand true to that. I'll never falter in my beliefs in that, but I have never once said I hated the trans community. Like I said, I think there's space for everyone.
Wow. It shouldn't be that impressive that she's speaking truth. It shouldn't be that impressive, but this is a girl who's got a lot to lose. It's not like they make that much money in the WNBA. We've talked about that a lot. The entire league loses money every year. It is the biggest tax write-off of all time for any major corporation. The whole thing loses money, and the NBA can write off the entire thing. It's not like they're making a lot of money. She's got a sneaker coming out. She's got all these big profile events, and she chooses to continue sticking up for women's sports. This one reporter from The Athletic, he just don't let it go, though.
Oh, last one I have, Sophie. How do you, I guess, navigate a climate where whatever you say, people are going to say, well, this means you're automatically in this box or this label or that label, politically, morally, whatever?
I really don't care. I know that sounds bad, and I'm not trying to come off like that, but I do think, everyone always is coming at it as a negative. Well, me coming out with that, there's so many people who are coming out with the positive saying, you know what, finally someone has said something. And I don't really look at either side of those, because I know whatever I say, I'm going to get hate and I'm going to get love. And if I'm going to live by the love, I'm going to die by the hate. And that's just not who I am. I beat to my own drum. And so people are always going to have something to say. You could win the championship. You could be the best at whatever it is. And there's still people who are going to hate on you. And so that's just what this world is. So I'm confident in who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I'm happy being me. And I'm going to continue to be that.
Have you always had kind of that mentality when it comes to, people saying things, or is that something you've built and learned to adapt over time?
I think I've always kind of been able to, handle that type of pressure, I would say, and the type of eyes and the type of people who have comments. And like I said, there's, going to be some negative comments, but there's also a whole bunch of positive comments too that no one really ever, people hate positivity for some reason. I have no idea why, but there's a lot of positive comments too when it comes to that. And so, it is what it is. Like I said, we're all human. No one's perfect here. And so I really don't care what other people have to say. I know who I am. My people know who I am. And hopefully I'm doing them proud and making room for young boys and girls in our world to have a better future than we did.
Given every opportunity to backtrack, and for the length of that 4-minute interview, she keeps doubling down and tripling down and quadrupling down. This is what I believe in. And the woke mob could be coming for her any second. Boycott her sneaker. Boycott her jerseys. Don't go to the games. And she's doing everything right. Literally doing every single thing right. And I consider that an act of bravery in today's climate. I mean, think about the superstars in women's sports we've had around here. Anybody hear Sue Bird talking about this? I'm still amazed that when I go to sporting events around here and Sue Bird's image pops up on the screen, the whole audience goes nuts. And then I realize, well, I am at the Kraken game on women's night. So, okay, whatever. But why? Where's she during all this? Instead, you've got Megan Rapinoe. When she was asked similar questions, here's what she said.
Let's just pull back a little. At first it was well, nobody likes women's sports and nobody wants to watch it. Or there was, abuse happening and nobody seemed to care. Now all of a sudden we're going to use a vulnerable group of people in the trans community to be oh, well, we're just protecting women's sports and we care so much about it. When the Heritage Foundation is now going to go after Title IX. So is it about reproductive rights or is it about just women's rights in general? We're seeing the rollback of Roe v. Wade. Marriage equality, I feel is getting put back on the table. That was settled law. And so all of these things, yes, they're going after trans people in sports and they're using this as a wedge issue because we love sports and, we don't want our little girls to be unsafe in sports. And it's unsafe from who? But okay. Yeah. But now we're using this as an overarching thing when really what we're attacking women. We're saying, if you look like this as a woman, you can play. If you look like this as a woman, there's a bill in Washington happening right now that's going to require all girls, just full stop, to go through a sex test, an invasive, examining their genitals to see if they're a woman.
Yeah. And that has not worked out well historically for people to do
we know what that means. Black girls are going to get questioned more and they're going to get questioned first. Who's doing the examination?
Who wants to subject themselves to that?
And so they're going to see a pullback. They don't like women in sports because it helps us with confidence and power. And we see so many women in the C-suite played elite level sports. It's just great for you physically and all of it. But it's an attack on women in society. And I think the tie between the Heritage Foundation now wanting to go after Title IX, it's just so blatant. Let's connect these dots. It's more than just a couple of trans kids in the entire country and a couple in each state being able to participate in some youth sports.
What a contrast. She's advocating for men in women's sports. That's what she's advocating for. And that whole thing about the genital testing, we've debunked that 1,000 times. That's not what it says. That's just the talking point. So Sophie Cunningham says all the right things. Megan Rapinoe, whose U.S. women's soccer team lost 5-2 to a team of 15-year-old boys in Dallas, doesn't stick up for women's sports. But Sophie Cunningham does. I think this is an act of bravery. I think Sophie Cunningham has just shown how tough she is. And I got to tell you, she's leading by example. And there's so many people how when years from now they realize how crazy all this stupidity was, will say, yeah, I agreed with that. But she's standing out. And more people are going to buy her sneakers, and more people are going to buy her jerseys. In fact, when my daughter gets back from her summer program, I'm going to say, you want a Sophie Cunningham jersey? You want a Sophie Cunningham shirt? We'll get it for you. You want the sneakers? We will buy them for you. Because that's a role model for my kids I can get behind in a world where we have far too many celebrities that are the complete opposite of role models. But I ask you the hard question. Is it that she's tough because nobody else is doing it? Is it that she's tough because she's using common sense? Or do you think it's just, yeah, that's the bare minimum you should be doing? It's unfortunate nobody else is doing it. Me personally, with all that girl has to lose on the line, I'm pretty impressed. I am very, very impressed. And I'm wondering where are all the male basketball players saying the same thing. I'm wondering where's everybody else in the WNBA sticking up for women's sports or women's soccer or any of these other sports. You don't hear anything out of anybody. Where are all the celebrities saying stuff? Me personally, in this culture, in this environment, I think that's brave. If you think it's the bare minimum, or you want to agree, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. If you're having troubles getting through on the phone line, give us a call on the backup number, 206-644-6006. That's 206-644-6006. Speaking of common sense, here in Seattle, apparently they don't have any at all whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. While President Trump is lowering utility prices across the country, Seattle says, nah, we're going to double them for you. Tell you how much your utility rates are going to go up when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show.
Give me a
So today, the White House announced that if you want to have a data center, what they're going to try to help require is that data centers, because people have all these concerns about data centers all of a sudden. My friends, you're probably living right near a data center right now and have no idea. You probably have no idea that a bunch of the warehouses you drive past and other things are actually data centers. Yet now all of a sudden they're big and scary. What do you think is holding all your Facebook pictures? What do you think is holding all your tweets? What do you think is holding all your emails? Massive servers. And they're all over the place. Oh, data centers are bad all of a sudden. It's because China has come up with this psyop to tell everybody how bad these things are because they don't want America competing in the AI race. They want to own it. Look what they did with TikTok. Look what they did with TikTok. They got all our kids addicted to the social media platform. In China, TikTok does educational content. In the US, it's here's how you change from a boy to become a girl. That's really what it is. It is crazy. Absolutely crazy. So the new thing, data centers, bad. Are there some concerns that need to be addressed? Absolutely. Do they use a lot of power? Well, yeah, it's all electronics. So how do we deal with that? Maybe you say if you want to build a data center, you got to spend this much on electrical infrastructure. You got to spend this much on power generation. And guess what? If you have more power generation and the infrastructure is being paid for, it's cheaper for everybody else on the same network. It's really common sense. So, what is this plan that the president has proposed? Here's President Trump.
President Trump will participate in a historic...
Sorry, that's Caroline Leavitt speaking for President Trump.
Ratepayer Protection Pledge event at the EPA headquarters down the street. The president will expand the Ratepayer Protection Pledge to governors, state legislatures, developers, and power providers to ensure that everyone involved in building and powering data centers pays their own way, instead of passing those costs on to hardworking families. The president will be joined by Energy Secretary Chris Wright, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, and several governors who have already signed on to this pledge. And it has already proven to be remarkably successful. Nearly 200 additional stakeholders have signed on since it was first announced, including utilities, data center developers, public power authorities, co-ops, and state governors. As a result, the pledge now covers 80% of all the power delivered to American homes and businesses. President Trump's bold leadership is turning data centers from a source of concern into engines of growth and opportunity for communities across this country, all while cementing America's dominance over China in the global AI race. The president is ensuring the American people are never left footing the bill so private companies can benefit. Instead, President Trump is leveraging the data center boom to deliver real, tangible benefits for working families and small businesses.
Now, this is brilliant because basically what you're saying is, okay, let's take your concerns and let's fix them. Let's address them. Let's find a way to make it work. And if we can find a way to make it work, it'll be better for everybody. Because Trump knows what a threat China is. Trump knows the AI race is going on right now. People in his administration know it, and they know the U.S. cannot lose it. We can't lose it. So this is how you deal with people's concerns about the data centers, especially the crazy ones that are being promoted by China so that the lefties do the job for them and get people so riled up about the data centers that places say no to it. Who said no to data centers? Oh, right, Seattle. Seattle did a 1-year moratorium. The Seattle City Council did a 1-year moratorium on data centers while they study the issue. Instead, it should have been, okay, you have concerns about power? How do we address that? Let's try and figure it out. Hey, company, you want to build a data center? Why don't you come in and upgrade the infrastructure here, and we'll talk about it. And that way, we don't have to charge all these customers for Seattle City Light for upgrading all this infrastructure. If you do that, you can have your data center. Wow, wouldn't that have been brilliant? No, they just slap a moratorium on it instead. Slap a 1-year moratorium on it instead. You think Bob Ferguson's going to opt into this? He still hasn't opted into the thing that can get you money for your kid to go to private school, so I doubt he's going to opt into this because Trump did it. Not going to do it at all. In fact, it's worse than that. The Seattle City Council approved a 9.5% Seattle City Light rate hike and also put a transit tax on the November ballot. Oh, by the way, this is 2 years of 9.5% increases. So what that means is over the next 2 years, your utility bills are going up 20% while they scream and yell and cry about affordability. While they yell about affordability, they are spiking your utility costs. And it could have been paid for by a data center. But instead, no, let's get it out of John Q. Public. Let's rip it out of them. The next time Bob Ferguson or Katie Wilson or anybody else says the Trump administration is making everything so expensive for everybody, you say, my gas went up because of your Climate Commitment Act. My utilities went up because of your Climate Commitment Act. And now the city of Seattle just approved a 20% rate increase for Seattle City Light. Because instead of talking to these data centers and say, hey, we're losing all these big corporations, let's bring in the data centers. Let's do that. Let's figure out how to deal with the power issues. Maybe they can pay for it, like Amazon paid to redo most of South Lake Union. Instead, it's just no. Just no. The next time they talk about affordability, throw this vote right back in their face. A 20% utility rate increase over the next 2 years. I don't want to hear them talking about struggling seniors or anybody else after that. Up next, my friends, Marco Rubio says after 4 U.S. service members were killed by Iran, it's an eye for an eye, and that's President Trump's policies. What does that actually mean? What does that mean for your gas prices? Give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Are we going to blow Iran off the face of the earth or not? Some people are saying, hey, it's time to cut bait and get out of there. Some people are saying finish the job. People are saying proportionate response. But I ask you, as always, what's the virtue of a proportionate response? What we're doing right now seems to be proportionate response, and that hasn't worked for us for our entire history. So you have a choice, cut bait and run, or stay in the fight. Americans don't like to lose. You cut bait and run, people are going to be mad, but some people are saying, hey, this war is really unpopular, and we're heading into the midterms. A lot of things happened yesterday, and without understanding the nuances of the Middle East, a lot of it is lost on a lot of people. So what's the first big lie that's being told? President Trump has taken out the nuclear weapons in Iran, but he's giving nuclear weapons to Saudi Arabia. No, that's not the case. Saudi Arabia is the big enchilada. They are the leader of the Arab world. What they do, other Arab countries do. Right before October 7th, Saudi Arabia, even under the Biden administration, was about to join the Abraham Accords. Hamas didn't want that to happen. Because if Saudi Arabia joins the Abraham Accords, many other countries will follow them. And that means peace with Israel. That means peace in the Middle East. That means peace with the United States. That means the coming end of death to the infidel, death to America. That means these terrorist groups' days are numbered. It means the Arab world has chosen it is better to be financially profitable, to be prosperous, to be peaceful, to be successful, than throw the Jew down the well. And death to the infidels in America. That is history changing. Well, according to Hamas's own documents, according to Hamas itself, they launched the October 7th attack because Iran was worried about Saudi Arabia entering the Abraham Accords. And if they could show that Israel wasn't as strong as it was and put some doubt into Saudi Arabia, you could delay that from happening. Make no mistake about it, the ones who continue wanting the terror is Iran. And when Iran is losing, what do? They activate their proxies. We've been seeing this for decades, most notably on October 7th. Iran didn't themselves attack Israel. They just gave the weapons to Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and everybody else to attack Israel. They did it through their terror proxies. So President Trump is playing kind of the opposite version of that game. Saudi Arabia wants nuclear power. And they want U.S. nuclear power because our nuclear power is very, very safe, very, very efficient. Liberals in the U.S. don't want it, but Saudi Arabia does. So President Trump said, if you guys enter the Abraham Accords, we'll make a deal where we are giving you our nuclear power, we are running it, we are operating it, we are servicing it, and you're good to go. That is the deal. It has nothing whatsoever to do with nuclear weapons. It's not nuclear vessels. That's not what it is. We are talking about civil nuclear power. Here's what President Trump put out there. The civil nuclear deal, there will be no enrichment of material being made between the United States Department of Energy and Saudi Arabia, which pertains to non-military use, such as the ones that Iran and UAE and others already have, will be approved, but is totally subject. Saudi Arabia joining the very respected and successful Abraham Accords. The United States is not opposed to civil non-enriched nuclear facilities. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It is that simple. So what happens? Iran says, okay, we don't like this at all. Because if Saudi Arabia goes into the Abraham Accords, we don't like that because all the other Arab countries will follow them. This is bad news. We can't do this. We can't do this. We can't do this. So instead, here's what we're going to do. Hey, where's Hamas? Oh, they're not looking too good right now. Okay, where's Hezbollah? Oh, those pagers really blew off parts of their anatomy. Those guys can't even walk around anymore. All right, who do we got left? Aha! Houthis, you've been quiet for a while now. Go attack some shipping. Go launch some missiles at some Arab countries. Go attack Saudi Arabia. That's literally suicidal. That's kamikaze. That's suicide bomber mentality. That's terrorist for you. So what happens? The Houthis have like 5 rockets left, and they start launching rockets. And so President Trump wrote, a year ago, the United States of America attacked very powerfully the Houthis for their interference with commerce and trade by shooting at ships. Since that time, and during our conflict with Iran, they have acted very responsibly. Unfortunately, now they are starting up again, shooting at 2 Saudi Arabian ships last night. Please let this truth serve to represent that if they do this again, the U.S. will hold Iran responsible, in that the Houthis are a surrogate and a proxy of Iran, and major military punishment will be inflicted upon Iran. And of course, the Houthis themselves, who I'm very disappointed with, in that they have until now acted very professionally and smart. Thank you for your attention to this matter, which is, don't you dare do anything or we will blow you off the face of the earth. What, Iran's telling you to do something? We're going to do something. So, what did Secretary Rubio say we're actually going to do? Iran killed 4 U.S. service members. Somehow those missiles got through Jordanian defenses where U.S. service members were stationed. And one was trying to disarm a drone. It blew up. It wasn't successful. So what are we going to do? They're killing U.S. service members. What do we do now?
Do you rule out striking civilian infrastructure?
I think, I saw Arachi, their foreign minister, who the other day say or something about their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be. I mean, they will pay a very heavy price for the things they're doing. They're already paying a very heavy price. You guys don't know it because you don't cover it. You're not in Iran. You're not in the street. They don't have a free media. But they're going to continue to pay a very heavy price. Their industrial base has been decimated. Their defense industrial base has been decimated. They're losing launchers. They're losing radars every single night. They are suffering billions of dollars in damage, and their economy is a disaster. But despite all that, okay, these people who are calling us every day, begging, let's do a deal. They send us messages through other countries, third countries. I mean, they're running out of countries to send. Even I had countries here coming up to me, oh, I just spoke to the Iranians. They want to do a deal. The problem is, every time these people do a deal, they either break it or after they make it, they want to change the deal. So they're probably not ready to do a deal yet, but they will be soon because the price they're paying is very high despite their tough talk and their flowery language and their stupid Lego videos they put out. I've never seen them, but they put these things out on social media. Despite all that bravado, they are suffering tremendously, and they're going to suffer more until they come to their senses. They're not there yet, unfortunately.
Which country?
Exactly. So shut them down. And here's the thing, guys. If we keep doing this proportionate response, it hasn't gotten us anywhere. Absolute shock and awe until unconditional surrender. That was the idea at the beginning. Yeah, we don't want American boots on the ground. So you say to our new friend, Saudi Arabia, hey, Saudi Arabia, you want those nuclear power plants we offered you? How about some oil, too? You guys put the boots on the ground. We'll give you all the tactical air support. You guys go to Karg Island. You take it. Guess what? You can have the oil and you can have the nuclear facilities. Look how easy that is. Look how simple that is. Look how simple that could be. And that's why Iran is so desperate to stop it. And anybody saying pick up your ball and go home doesn't understand what's happening in the Middle East. And if you do that, you are now saying the American people don't have the stomach for this, and anytime we're attacked, we're eventually just going to cut bait and run. Up next, my friends, your calls and your texts because our phone lines are back, which is amazing. We'll do that. Plus, also, why are Democrats so set on reparations? Tell you all about it up next. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Just before we get into the woke stuff, I'm so excited our phone lines are working again. I don't want to leave these callers hanging on the line. So we go back to the recently repaired KVI studio line. Take a call from John in Seattle. John, welcome back, man.
Thank you, Larry. So while I stand up for Ukraine against the Russian aggression, I'm increasingly alarmed by the growing totalitarian tendency of Mr. Zelensky and his ruling elite and cronies. The firing of Defense Minister Fedorov follows a trend of sacking of prominent figures by the president, and it resulted in hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians, protesters, calling for Zelensky to stand down.
Okay, but hang on a second. John, hang on a second. We haven't mentioned Zelensky yet today. We haven't mentioned the war in Ukraine yet today. I understand you're upset about what's going on, but if you have an issue... I mean, the thing is right now is the focus isn't really on Ukraine, and we have that whole thing about not interfering in other countries' elections. And I think that President Trump has kind of roughed up Zelensky a bunch during this whole time, don't you?
I do, and I do actually support Israel very much, but I think that Trump should tell Zelensky unequivocally that we have been supporting his country with intelligence and money, etc., but he has to respect the rule of law and the Constitution like we do, and not let it slide into tyranny.
Well, the problem is, you would know this better than I do, John. I don't know. I have never read the Ukrainian Constitution. I don't know if they have a constitution. But if I'm not mistaken, they operate on a parliamentary system. And a parliamentary system operates very, very differently than the way our system works. And as a result, it's not the elections are this date no matter what. It's when your coalition falls apart unless you have this overriding war, in which case you can hold on to power basically as long as you want. Am I not mistaken?
You're not, but there are many people that are being abducted and kidnapped for mobilization in the front, and I've seen it all over Twitter, X, and online, TikTok, and many people are like Yulia Mandel, that used to be Zelensky's aide, and lots of people turned against him and called him a dictator.
No, I understand. I understand all that. I'm understanding everything, and I understand your frustration, especially somebody who might be from that region. I understand it. But right now, the issue seems to be if the Ukrainian people don't want Zelensky in charge, they should stand up to him. If the people in the parliament don't want Zelensky in charge, they should call for elections and break apart this whole war act. So then... that's what they should be doing. That's exactly what they should be doing. And President Trump multiple times has put condition on the aid to Ukraine. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Kurt in Kirkland. Kurt, make it quick, buddy. I'm running up against a break.
You got it, Ari. Getting back to Iran, you mentioned two things. We do need to go all the way. Second, with Saudi being the big enchilada, we need to take Karg Island, and it needs to be with a coalition led by Saudi Arabia while we conduct air cover.
I agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly what needs to happen. And then you don't get these complaints of endless war. The reason there are endless wars is because we do this tit-for-tat business, which never ends up working. We do this proportionate response business, which never ends up working. Kurt, couldn't have said it better myself. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I love Dave's text here. He even sent me a GIF with it. It's Robert Downey Jr. from the first Iron Man. Why not? The weapon you only have to fire once. The Jericho missile. Let's just drop that on Iran. Okay. Got a little bit of time left for the reparations discussion, but here's the basic thing here, guys. Why are the Democrats pushing this so hard? They are pushing this so hard because it's a payoff. It's a payoff to minority groups. It's a payoff to special interest groups. And that way, they hope they will vote for them in the future. My favorite part about this whole thing is who is pushing this so hard? Sonny Hostin. Sonny Hostin from The View, one of the big proponents of this, right?
And so what this is about is money, Joy. Yeah. This is not about anything else. It's about this country trying to avoid paying African Americans our due.
Well, and also,
So, okay. She says that. Fine. You know that she's the one who found out that she's a descendant of slave owners? Sonny Hostin is a descendant of slave owners. There was actually one of those, what do you know about your background shows? So is she going to pay herself? I love this stuff. It's so entertaining. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including D-list celebrities are now shilling for the income tax. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless. Streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up today, a man from Washington is sentenced for trying to join ISIS. And could T-Mobile layoffs have been avoided? One Democrat lawmaker says they tried to fix the bill, but some others weren't listening. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. That's right, my friends. Today we are giving away a Southern California theme park trip to Disneyland and Universal Studios, or $3,000 in cold, hard cash. All you have to do in order to be entered to win this amazing, amazing prize, one of these two amazing prizes, is text the word I give you to the number I give you for your chance to win. Do not text your name. Do not text your address. Do not text your phone number. Do not text, Ari, I'm so glad the phone lines are back. In fact, just because our phone lines are back, do not call with the word. You can call and talk about politics, but not with the word. Just text the word to the number I give you. Today's word is coast, as in the West Coast, as in the left coast, as in Southern California, part of the West Coast. Text the word coast, C-O-A-S-T, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to our newly restored full power KVI studio line. Take a call from Scott in Issaquah. Scott, what's going on, man?
Hey, Ari. Well, I just thought I'd try to touch on the reparations thing. I want to kind of put in perspective, I don't think people think about how much the national debt really is. It's $45 trillion. If you ask AI, total asset value of all American companies combined is about $45 trillion, and about all of American savings is maybe about $100 trillion, and then maybe the billionaires have about another $30 trillion in investments. So, I mean, to borrow another $51 trillion to give 50 million black Americans $1 million or maybe even $2 million a piece, I mean, you're talking double inflation, 100%. You'll see $10 a gallon gas. You'll see, and these people were never slaves. And most of them just don't want to work. Has nothing to do with their color. They just, they either can't find jobs because they vote for Democrats who destroy jobs, or they just, whatever. We don't owe them anything. Get a job.
Well, so that's exactly the point, which is so many people just want to coast. It used to be, Scott, I'm sure you were brought up with the same mentality I do. Judging by your voice, we're probably pretty close in age. But the idea was you want something, you work hard, you try your best, and you can possibly have a piece of that. And you didn't settle for, I want to live in a crappy apartment, I want to drive a crappy car. It was, I want the best I can possibly get. And now the new generation just seems to be like, I don't really want to do anything. I just want to sit on my phone and scroll through TikTok all day. And that is a huge difference.
Well, yeah, and if you want to live like that, it's fine. My grandpa used to tell me, if you want something bad enough, you'll work for it. It's only worth the effort it took to get it. So money is only worth what the effort was to get it. And if you're not willing to work for it, then maybe you don't really want it. Maybe you just think that you need it and you're not willing to work for it. So, people that don't want to work hard, that's fine. Just live your life, but don't sit here and get all mad that somebody else works hard and has something and you don't.
Right. That's the, I want it. Well, wait a second. I thought capitalism's bad. So why do you want my car? Right? Why do you want my, if capitalism's so bad, why do you want all my stuff? Scott, appreciate the call. Appreciate the perspective. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, my friends, I'm going to tell you something. Seattleites are going to freak out over something. It's not COVID. It's not murder hornets. It's none of that. It's the scariest thing you can possibly think of. No Meat Factory USA in Stanwood, Washington might be closing. Oh, no. The vegetarian burgers. No, we can't have the vegetarian burgers. Can't have the Beyond Beef anymore. We might not be. Oh, my God. Actually, the truth is, it's a very sad thing that people are losing their jobs. 123 people are getting laid off from the No Meat Factory USA, Inc. If we did the Ron Swanson approach here, it would be, yeah, good. Let it go. Let it go. People have jobs. I know we want to say that, but there are people who eat that stuff. Now, mind you, I'm thinking to myself, are they being laid off because people are moving out of the area? Are they being laid off because the people who are the crunchy veggie types are going bye-bye? Is it there's no market for it anymore, or if people finally realize that veggie burgers suck? I mean, look, here's the thing with the veggie burgers. I know people go, it tastes just like meat. You can't taste the difference. You're a liar, sir or ma'am. My sister-in-law tries this crap with me all the time. She goes, how do you like your stir fry? I go, fine, except for the tofu. Can you put the meat back in it, please? And she's like, I thought I'd get you this time. The way you know it's not real is it takes on the flavors of whatever else you add to it. So, for example, you put a lot of barbecue sauce, that stuff's going to taste like barbecue sauce. You put a lot of mustard on it, it's going to taste like mustard. You deep fry it with a bunch of stuff, it may taste like that, but it is not. And it's a sad thing when people lose their jobs. It's a very sad thing. But is this because a lot of the crunchy veggie types are actually leaving? The Seattle Times had an article up the other day claiming that no, people aren't leaving, they're just leaving King County. And they cited IRS data showing migrations between 2022 and 2023. And they're trying to claim, well, all these people, they're still staying in Washington. They're not leaving Washington. These 13,000 King County residents, they just moved to other parts of the state. Interesting. I pulled up the IRS data because I said, no, this math doesn't track at all. So 13,000 net loss of King County residents. That's the number we're going with, including $2 billion of their tax money. Okay, so I pulled it up. Do you know where they went? California, 12,090 people. Texas, 5,679 people. Arizona, 3,300 people. Oregon, 2,900 people. Florida, 2,600 people. New York, 2,400 people. Colorado, 1,600 people. Illinois, 1,300 people. Idaho, 1,200 people. Nevada, 1,200 people. That adds up to, for those of you who don't have a calculator on you and aren't transcribing every word I say, 57,433 people moving from King County to another state. In fact, 3,828 of them moved abroad. So you're going to tell me it's only 13,000 people and they're just moving to other parts of Washington? I don't think so. I don't believe you because I can read the numbers. So this claim, most people leaving King County stayed in Washington, completely false. If you want to claim the net population loss was driven by moves elsewhere in Washington, okay, but now we're getting into semantics. Their headline is imprecise, and this doesn't make any sense at all. In fact, it makes sense what I said when you pull up the numbers that people are actually leaving Washington. Now, mind you, more people are going to leave Washington if this income tax sticks around. They got some new shills for the income tax. They got this new shill who came out for it, and this was really funny. I come walking into work the other day, and as I'm walking in, one of the guys says to me, they say, Ari, Rick Steves came out in favor of the income tax. And I said, who? I said, who? And they go, Rick Steves. And I go, who's Rick Steves? And they said, how do you not know who Rick Steves is? And I go, because I've never heard of Rick Steves before. And they said, everybody knows who Rick Steves is. And I go, I consider myself pretty worldly. I have no idea who Rick Steves is. Apparently, he's some glorified travel blogger who's been around since the Stone Age. And apparently people really like his stuff who are part of PBS. Is that basically it? He has a travel show.
Yes, Rick Steves is pretty legendary. Yeah.
Okay. Why is he legendary?
He's just been doing it a long time, going around traveling. He's no nonsense. He's just kind of an older, dorky guy who really, really loves to travel.
Loves to travel. Would you say he's in our parents' demographic?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
But he's one of these guys that just kind of creeps in, and then you had people for a while that like him just because of how kind of corny he is. So he's gone through many generations. And if you're much like public radio, PBS,
okay.
You had that car guys over on public radio for a long time. It's just if you're a part of that kind of fan base, yeah. But
so what you're saying
he's
is
pretty famous.
What you're saying is the old crusty people. That's what we're talking about. The old crusty people are going to care about this.
I mean, I don't consider myself old and crusty. Do you consider me old and crusty?
I don't consider you old and crusty. You know who he is. Have you ever consumed his content?
Sure.
Since you've been,
absolutely.
Wait.
Yeah.
After you got married. Not because of your parents.
Yeah.
You
If
watch his stuff.
Hey, look, if I come across Steve Jobs someplace, and it's not like I'm flipping channels anymore.
You mean Rick Steves?
Sorry, did I say Steve Jobs?
I was going to say, if you're coming across him, I want to know what you're watching, man.
Yeah.
That's a pretty amazing satellite
I
reception
summoned his
you have
ghost.
there.
Yeah, sorry, Rick Steves. If I come across, but I mean, it's not like I'm flipping channels anymore. But if I come across him, I'll stop for a second.
When's the last time you saw Rick Steves on anything?
I don't know. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute because you don't flip channels anymore.
No.
Okay.
And it's not like I'm going to PBS.com and looking for old things.
Rick
I'm just
Steves
saying
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying he's pretty well known.
Okay. There is an age gap between you and me. There's an age gap between me and the people who told me when I came into the office, hey, Ari, Rick Steves is in favor of the income tax. And I said to this individual, who? And they looked at me shocked, like you're looking at me right now. How do you not know who Rick Steves is?
Okay, well, I got one for you because that must be going around today in the office because I talked to somebody in the office today who is mid to early 20s.
Yes.
That's
one of two people.
Has no idea who James Dean is.
I can understand why, though.
I know.
I can understand why. Okay, so now let's do the age gap between you and me, which is what, 4 or 5 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so it's 4 or 5 years between you and me. I bet the majority of people who are younger than me have no idea who Rick Steves is. The reason you get somebody like Rick Steves to shill for your campaign is you need to energize the base.
Yeah.
The NPR people,
Yep.
the PBS people, to go out and shill for your act. And by the way, they've done this before. I don't remember what it was, but it was one of the last times we had something controversial. It was the climate stuff. It was getting rid of the CCA. Do you remember who they brought to town?
Yeah.
Jane Fonda.
Ah.
Now, you and I know who Jane Fonda is. Anybody younger than us? Not so much. They don't know who Jane Fonda is. They don't know who Hanoi Jane is. In fact, if they do know who Jane Fonda is, and I say, you mean Hanoi Jane? They go, I don't get it. That's what they'll say. So you bring out this guy Rick Steves. I had to look up his name. See, that's how little I know about him. Rick Steves. To shill for the income tax.
Which, I mean, you're right. It makes sense.
That's what they're doing. They're trying to gin up the base, right?
Yeah.
So now who's the other person they bring out? Ken Jennings.
Oh, yes. I heard
Ken
him.
Jennings from Jeopardy.
Yeah.
So hang on a minute here. I want to make sure I got this right. Kevin, when's the last time you watched Jeopardy?
I'm not a Jeopardy guy. Sometimes if it's on in a bar or something, I'll play along for a second.
Sure.
My wife likes it better than I do. So sometimes if she's watching it or if her mom is staying with us.
Yes.
So I kind of just don't have any patience for it.
The way my wife says it, she goes, oh, sure, Jeopardy. I used to watch it with my grandparents all the time. I love that show. Her grandparents have been dead. Her grandfather, who died after her grandmother, has been dead for, I think, 15 years now. That's the last time she watched. She watches it from time to time. I see it on just because she's flipping channels. We don't have channels to flip anymore. So you ain't watching the Jeopardy. You bring out the Ken Jennings, who I forgot was even the host of Jeopardy. What happened to Mayim Bialik? Is she out? It's just Ken Jennings now?
I think it's just Ken Jennings. And here's the other thing. Again, along with your theory, Ken Jennings is a darling of public radio.
Right. In fact, Ken Jennings, if I recall correctly, this was a guy who was in favor of the autonomous zone.
Probably.
This was a guy who was all on board with all that craziness. So why are they bringing out the Ken Jennings? Because they need to motivate the base. Now, a lot of people look at this and they go, Ari, oh my God, they brought out, Randy Savage, or what's this guy's name? Rick Steves.
Rick Steve Jobs.
Rick Steve Jobs Savage.
Yeah. Macho Man Rick Steve Jobs.
Whatever
Savage.
this dude's name is, okay? Randy Rick Steves Jobs. Whatever it is. They bring out this guy, Rick Steves, who I never heard of before in my life, and they bring out Ken Jennings, who the only thing I know about the guy was he was that Jeopardy guy who I didn't have a problem with until all of a sudden he starts talking about the autonomous zone. Now I'm like, you're dead to me. Because they're worried about the base. They need to motivate the base. Because it's all about that base. Why? Because they got to bring them out because even they like holding on to their money. And even they realize that this income tax is coming for everybody. Literally everybody. And what happens is they always say, oh, we're talking about affordability. We're talking about affordability. Give me a break. That's not what it is about at all. In fact, the President of the United States was calling this out the other day. Because what are they saying? Oh, if you cut the income tax, then, we have to pay for the diapers and the K through 12 education. Oh, yeah. How are you paying for K through 12 education until now? How are you doing that? Here's what the president had to say on this.
We can't be hoodwinked. We can't be taken advantage of by people that say you're going to have a free home, you're going to get free rent, everything's going to be free. What they don't say is a year later, everything is going to end up in squalor, destruction, and death. And also death for our country. So we have to stop the threat of the communist rhetoric that you're hearing right now, because these people, they don't act. I'm very happy a poll came out. It said they're highly educated, but doing very poorly. In other words, they're losers. They went to school, they got a good education, now they don't know what they're doing. So what they do is they complain about people like yourselves that have done so well. But we can't let the communist ideology we don't want to even think about it for this country.
Do you know why they're saying free stuff? Because of this report. More than 105 million Americans are now officially outside the workforce, marking the highest number ever recorded and surpassing levels seen during both COVID-19 and the Great Recession. Now, this isn't that they're unemployed. They are unemployed. But they are outside the workforce because when you factor in the unemployed people, when you factor in all the other things, you have a ton of people that can't get jobs because they're not qualified to do anything. Not qualified to do anything. Leading labor economist Nicholas Epstedt of the American Enterprise Institute described the trend as a flight from work, particularly among prime working age men. He says we've got a big problem with the flight from work of prime age men. What's been carrying the overall prime age labor force participation has been strong involvement of women, not men. A lot of people are just leaving the workforce, choosing to leave the workforce. 5.3 million Americans are classified as discouraged workers who have stopped looking for employment altogether. Sounds like a lot of the people we're talking about. More than 23 million people outside the workforce receive long-term disability, illness, or similar benefits, while retirees remain the single largest group, accounting for nearly half of Americans not participating in the labor market. So what they're saying is we're going to give you free stuff. Everybody wants free stuff, right? Caroline Levitt was calling this out. So good to have her back, by the way.
Democrats throw around the word affordability a lot, but when they had the chance to vote for the largest middle-class tax cuts in history, they refused. If Democrats got their way, it would have meant the largest tax increase in history, $4 trillion. 90% of Americans would have seen their taxes go up, and it would have been a complete disaster for our economy. That's the Democrat solution to, quote, affordability. It is raising your taxes.
Exactly right. They talk about affordability. Oh my God, we can't afford anything. Let's quickly increase the utility bills, like we spoke about earlier in the show. Oh, we can't afford anything. Let's put a tax on gas. Oh, we can't afford it. Let's put a tax on income. That's their solution to affordability. It's just a buzzword. They don't actually mean it. Not at all. When we come back, my friends, it looks like a lot of you want to make fun of me about the Rick Steves thing, or make fun of Rick Steves, which is even more entertaining. We'll have those texts for you. Plus, also, a Washington man was sentenced for trying to join ISIS. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Before we get to the law and order stuff, vindicated. I am vindicated. On the text line, Dennis, text of the day, my friend. He said, I never heard of Rick Steve, and I'm 63. Plus, he also wrote Rick Steves with an apostrophe. See? I don't know. I couldn't pick this dude out of a crowd. Couldn't even do it. They put up his picture on the Como article about the income tax, and I'm like, I have no clue. Ken Jennings, I kind of know who he is, right? Rick Steves, no idea. No idea who he is at all. Then a lot of you chimed in with this one. A lot of you are saying he was instrumental in getting marijuana legalized in the state of Washington.
I totally forgot about that, but that is true. Yeah.
Well, how's that worked out? How's that worked out? I walk down the streets, the whole place smells like weed. I drive home, it smells like weed. Wherever I live in South Seattle, I know it's going to smell like weed. Wherever you go in Washington, it just smells like weed. It smells like skunks.
If you're stuck in traffic, like oftentimes I am on Mercer, and that's 4 lanes.
Yes,
you're going to get some weed.
Yes,
like especially if you got your window down or something. But you're going to get weed either from a passerby or another car next to you.
So glad they're doing that while they're driving. Really, really happy. You know that, oh yeah, no, it's not an issue. People aren't addicted to it. No, it'll be perfectly fine, right, Rick Steves?
Don't worry, we run a PSA about smoking marijuana and driving. I'm sure we're stopping tons of that.
I'm sure that we are. I'm sure the person smoking weed in their car is listening to KVI and our PSA about not smoking weed while they're driving. Yes, I am sure that is happening every single day. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Reggie in Des Moines. Reggie, what's going on?
Hi, I'm a local, and I can't stand Rick Steves. He's probably around 70 now, and he used to not only promote, passing laws to legalize marijuana, he went around and got time in churches to speak to congregations to do it. I mean, what?
Oy.
And I bet right now he's out on street corners singing and holding No King sign. I mean, the guy was a con. He got public broadcasting, Oregon-based, to pay, I don't know how much, maybe all of his travel show. But the travel show that he got free airtime on PBS was really basically to promote his travel company. I think and the travel he promoted, he didn't ever even learn another language, not one. He was kind of, PBS watchers thought that he was like sophisticated traveler. And as a person who lived and studied abroad in multiple countries on multiple continents, he was a tacky, unknowledgeable guy. And you ought to look up his Iran special. You'll love that, Ari.
Wait. He went to Iran to talk about how great the Ayatollahs are or something?
Well, I'd like to watch it again now, knowing what I know now. But it was sort of at the point where people were probably, starting to baste and cook in the we hate Jews, philosophy of pro-Palestine, but before October 7th and years before that. But yeah, it was big PBS special he did. And, yes, it's great to go there and talk about the culture before it was taken over, but I don't think he really focused on how it was now. So,
Reggie, this was the best summary education on this dude I ever could have gotten, Reggie. That is great. I'll tell you what, I got a text here from Kelly, who's talking about how Rick Steves went in lectures with Bishop Shelley Bryan Wee of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, and they appeared in lectures bad-mouthing Christian nationalism, one of the many reasons I quit that church. That sounds like what you're describing here, Reggie, right?
Yeah, I mean, he would book time at churches, and like one in Linwood, I can't remember the name of it, not one I went to. And then he would go and talk about, these poor guys have been put in jail for just smoking one joint. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. I mean, he's a delusional lefty who, is very much sort of the white, educated, delusional crowd, and I don't know what he's doing.
That's why they're bringing him in. That's why they're bringing him in. I'll tell you what, Reggie, with you on the phone, I'll make this, okay? Anybody out there has a church that wants me to come talk about the income tax? I'm really trying to get another PDC complaint like our friend Brandy did, okay? Bring me in. I will talk against the income tax. I will talk to make sure to save girls' sports. I'll talk about the parental rights thing. You just email me, arikvi.com. I will come talk. I'll come talk to your church. I'll come talk to your synagogue. I'll come talk to your mosque. I'll do the Rick Steves thing, the Rick Flair, the Rick Steves, the Rick whatever. I'll come do that. How does that sound, Reggie?
That sounds good. I'm affiliated with 2 different churches, believe it or not. One videotapes stuff and broadcasts it, and one is private and doesn't. Which do you like better?
I don't care. I don't discriminate.
Okay.
I do not discriminate against the ones that do this. We will have fun. Reggie, arikvi.com, okay? arikvi.com. All right. Take care. God bless you as well.
To add to that, by the way, I'm going to add to what Reggie brought up because there was a comprehensive 1-hour television special titled Rick Steves Iran, and it was also cut up into 2 separate half-hour episodes for his travel show, apparently, and it focuses on daily Persian life rather than contentious politics. Context, the episodes contrast the harsh state-sponsored anti-American propaganda with the genuine hospitality and surprising progressiveness of everyday Iranian citizens. This is according to AI.
Okay. Progressiveness of Iranian citizens. I don't think AI has ever met an Iranian citizen. They are very traditional. They are very religion oriented. They are very passionate about conservative values. But okay, AI, that sounds like something Rick Steves went out there to go talk about, which he knew nothing. Oh, I found the one progressive person out there. Let's interview them. Now I might actually have to go watch this nonsense, the Iran episode. Sweetie, what are you watching? I'm watching Rick Steves. Who? This travel guy. Why? Because I want to see what he said about Iran 15 years ago. Okay. All right. Fine. You do weird things in your
Apparently
life.
You can find it at pbs.com if you're interested. Yes.
Wait, do I have to sign up for a subscription? I'm not.
I
am not signing up for whatever their streaming service is. I'm not going to do that. All right. Let's get back to the actual law and order here. We'll do this. Okay. Do you know that a guy from Washington was actually just pleaded guilty to conspiracy to support ISIS? You may remember this guy. We talked about him a long time ago. Syed Ali Mira, 21, entered the plea in U.S. District Court of Seattle just this week. And he was arrested at his Kent home before he was scheduled to leave the United States to join ISIS. You remember how they found this guy? He admitted that he began communicating with co-conspirators by at least July about traveling through Turkey to Syria to join ISIS as fighters. He acknowledged that he knew ISIS had been designated as a foreign terrorist organization. In October of 2025, he purchased a ticket to fly from Seattle to Istanbul on November 16th, where he intended to meet up with other members of the conspiracy. Those plans accelerated after members of the group living in Dearborn, Michigan, were arrested on October 31st over an alleged ISIS-inspired Halloween attack plot. You remember all this? You remember this craziness? Mira and his alleged co-conspirator Thomas Khan Jimenez Guzal moved their flights to November, but the FBI arrested Mira one day before his scheduled departure. Federal authorities previously said he admitted after his arrest he planned to travel to Syria to join ISIS as a fighter. He was originally charged in New Jersey, but his case was transferred earlier this month to the Western District of Washington because that's where he's from. Now imagine if that Inslee political appointee was the one who was actually put in charge instead of Neil Floyd. It might have a much different outcome. When we come back, my friends, one of our Democratic lawmakers is going to tell us how she tried to stop the tax on Starbucks and Amazon that's now driving them out of Washington, and what can be done to fix it. Is it too little, too late? Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Today's Newsmaker Spotlight brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, Western Washington, windows and doors for every home. Well, you might remember that a little while ago, we got a public disclosure request back. That was a communication that T-Mobile was having with members of the Washington State Legislature. And it was saying, hey, we got a problem with some of these taxes. They're affecting us pretty badly. One Democrat tried to fix it. Seems like some other Democrats were in on the conversation. And unfortunately, it seemed like nothing came of it. Joining us now to discuss on the KVI studio line, Representative Mari Levitt. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Ari. I appreciate it.
Such a pleasure. Why don't we start from the top of this? So basically what happened is all these new taxes get passed. We have the income tax, which gets passed, but T-Mobile was saying, hey, this advertising provision in here is going to adversely affect us. What can we do about it? Tell us what happened.
Yeah, so, and it wasn't just T-Mobile. I mean, there were several entities who had concerns, and it was concerns about Senate Bill 5814, which was passed by the legislature in 2025. So T-Mobile reached out to the chair and the majority leader and sent a letter, as you've indicated and shared, and, saying, hold up, this is how it's impacting us. And from that letter, I wasn't on the email, the original email from the letter, but certainly heard about it from T-Mobile's representatives, and they shared concerns, and we're trying to find a way to mitigate the impacts that was going to have on T-Mobile and other entities like them. And so they started to shop an amendment or a fix or adjustment, or call it whatever you want, to 5814 and get an amendment within another bill in order to mitigate the impacts that it had on their business and certainly other businesses like them.
Gotcha. So this didn't actually end up passing, this change. It kind of got stuck there. If the Democrats were hearing this from other companies, why didn't they just do something to fix it? Or was it one of these things where a legislative procedure ran out of time or whatever it was in the legislature stopped this?
Yeah, well, there was an amendment that T-Mobile offered, and they had language, and I was certainly willing to offer it because it made sense. And in essence, what the amendment did is it said, look, out-of-state businesses shouldn't be getting an advantage, and in-state businesses shouldn't be getting a disadvantage by 5814 impacts, which is compelling because our role as legislature is really to shore up our businesses within Washington State first and foremost, and certainly care of the out-of-state businesses, but we shouldn't be causing harm to our in-state businesses and giving an advantage, like I said, to out-of-state. So they had an amendment language that was offered up to adjust and fix that challenge that they were having. And unfortunately, it didn't get into the bill, and it didn't make it out. And I think T-Mobile, certainly was disappointed in that impact of us not being able to move in the direction that they asked us to. And I was disappointed, and I think there were other legislators who were disappointed that we weren't able to get that done as well.
Now, this isn't the only company that did this. We know Starbucks had similar problems with this. We know that actually the NBA commissioner was concerned about some of these tax provisions that are going to be in a lot of these bills. And it seems like it's just not going anywhere. Is this stuff that's going to be coming back in the next legislative session, assuming it's most of the same people coming back after the elections?
I think so. I hope so. I know I've had conversations with T-Mobile and plan to take the language that they offered and convert it into a bill, and then start to work with staff and Department of Revenue to find out what the budget impact would be if we were to implement that going forward for next session. And we were able to make some changes this session. So it wasn't just T-Mobile or large companies that were impacted by 5814, but unfortunately, it was even smaller entities like public libraries, school districts, nonprofits who bring in educational folks, those who do tutoring or music lessons. So imagine if you have a child taking piano lessons or you offer piano lessons or you offer violin lessons, they were being taxed as well, which is stupid. There's no other way to say it. Stupid tax. And it was harmful, and it was causing school districts to, impacting them in millions of dollars, libraries across our state, nonprofits, educational entities, those who bring in speakers to educate someone or inform them or provide knowledge on a range of issues or topics or anything, all of those were being taxed. So we were able to make some dent this year in some of that, but not all of it. So absolutely we'll be coming back. Some of us will be coming back for next session, including the amendment that T-Mobile offered. And I called them just to make sure they're still interested in that or if they've mitigated in some other way. And they are interested, and they also are mitigating the impact of that bill. And some of the services that they were doing in state, they're doing elsewhere. I don't know where elsewhere is. I didn't ask what state is elsewhere included, but they've started to mitigate it in the way that they need to in order to, to save money. But yes, it'll be coming back next session. And I would imagine some other iterations of where the impact is continuing to cause harm will be offered as well. Ed Orcutt had a great bill, just repealed 5814. And unfortunately, Representative Ed Orcutt, that is, and unfortunately it didn't get a hearing, which was disappointing.
So, I hate to say I told you so, but this was something people like me were warning about before this thing even got passed. Did these concerns not come up when this thing was first being proposed?
I don't think they came up to the level. I certainly didn't hear about it. I mean, I heard certainly some, and I voted no on the original bill. So I heard enough that said this is a problematic bill. And I called it the kitchen sink bill because it just had everything and anything all in one big bill. To tax, from libraries to school districts to music lessons to after-school care programs to T-Mobile to digital websites. I mean, on and on and on. It just had a host of all unconnected stuff. And that's why I call it the kitchen sink, because we just threw in everything. It's like filling a dishwasher to the brim and it's overflowing, and then it doesn't work. Well, of course it's not going to work because it wasn't meant to do that. And so I think this bill is a good example of where you get it wrong when you rush. But there were certainly warning signs from several folks who said, don't do this, and this is what we think the impact is going to be. And unfortunately, it got through anyway.
In the last few minutes we have with Representative Mari Levitt, and we really appreciate you coming on the show because, unfortunately, so many of your colleagues do not. So should we be concerned about other companies like Starbucks? Have you been hearing it from other big ones, Costco, REI, Microsoft, those guys? Because we know about T-Mobile, we know about the NBA, we know about Starbucks. It's dumb luck we found out about some of these things. Is there anybody else we should be concerned about?
I haven't heard, but I'm sure there are. So I'm sure to be revealed. I don't doubt. All of these things. I often call it a cumulative. One bill in and of itself may not cause significant harm across many sectors, but it's the cumulative effect of bills that cause significant harm. And I think that's where we're at right now. And so anything that comes forward for next session should be about relief, not piling on or not adding to that cumulative harmful effect that we've unfortunately done in the last couple sessions, and certainly proposals will come forward this upcoming session that aren't going to be helpful, and hopefully we make sure those don't get out.
Well, Representative Mari Levitt, really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Really appreciate your analysis. Really appreciate you fighting against these really crazy policies. And really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much, Ari. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, if you need some help with filling out your ballot, you can email me for the KVI Voters Guide, or you can text the word VOTE, V-O-T-E, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757, and we will send it over. It's also been recently updated because some of you had some questions, some of you had some concerns, and one person dropped out of the race. Yes, for those of you who wanted the recommendations on Seattle Municipal Court judges, sorry, dude, the only one who wasn't endorsed by a Democrat just dropped out of the race. So I got nothing. Look at this King County ballot. Pretty sad. However, to put a smile on my face, I DM'd my wife during the break because I want to know if I was the only one who hadn't heard of Rick Steves. Because holy cow, I now know for the future, if I want to tick off KVI Nation, all I need to do is mention Rick Steves, and the text line will blow up with how much you guys hate him. It's very entertaining. So I messaged my wife. Don't forget, my wife, Seattle native, speak English, Hoffman. Seattle native. Family's been here for 4 generations. Way more online than I am. Way savvier than I am. And I said this during the break, without Googling, do you know who Rick Steves is? Right? Here's what she wrote. Never heard of him. I said, perfect. Thank you. Excellent. So this must be a generational thing is what's going on here. Yes. As Kevin says, if you're watching a Ken Burns documentary on PBS, then you might know who Rick Steves is. The rest of us are not going to know who he is. That's good. This one here. Oh, this is mean, Dan. Very mean. I've heard of Rick Steves. I heard he was dead. Oh, boo. Boo, 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 boo. But funny. Very, very funny. This is just... From the 206, Nick says, Jeopardy is dead with Jennings. He also went after Barron Trump when Kathy Griffin did that severed head stunt. Ken's disgusting. Give me Alex Trebek and reruns for $500, Ari. That's very good. Very good, Nick. Very, very good. I like this one here. The one who says the last time they watched Jeopardy, Alex Trebek had a mustache. Yeah, the last time I watched Jeopardy, it wasn't Alex Trebek. It was actually Will Ferrell being Alex Trebek on Celebrity Jeopardy. Wow, you guys really don't like Rick Steves. This one here, Robin Lakewood, Lefty Loon Rick Steves did a show from Iran saying how great the Ayatollah and Islam is. Okay, we're going to have to check these out. 206 says he calls himself a socialist. Okay, you guys really don't like this dude. I get it. Switching gears, who do you like in 2028? Because new polling is out right now, and it used to be J.D. Vance, far and away, just like that Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise movie, far and away, was going to be the one who people wanted in 2028. Now, not so sure. According to Fox News, a new poll from New Hampshire, the state that for a century has held the first Republican presidential primary, is the latest to indicate that Secretary Marco Rubio is gaining ground in a hypothetical 2028 GOP nomination matchup with Vice President J.D. Vance. Vance stands at 36% support among likely GOP primary voters in New Hampshire, with Rubio at 26%. That is a massive swing when you consider the last poll they did had Vance at 53% and Rubio at 7%. Now, Vance has long been viewed as the heir apparent to President Donald Trump, but people have kind of seen what one's doing on the world stage and what the other one's doing on the world stage. Now, before you get too excited, there is some bad news polling out there. And I think there's only going to be more bad news polling as things continue, especially with what's going on in Iran. The bad news polling is that a lot of people want to vote for the socialist. So, according to the Post-Millennial, more U.S. voters would be likely to support a Democratic Socialist candidate than a MAGA candidate, or one that has been endorsed by President Donald Trump, according to a new CNBC poll. This comes after Democratic Socialists won Democratic primaries or elections in recent months. I bet you most people had no idea who the Democratic Socialists were before that. The primary wins from candidates backed by the Democratic Socialists of America, including Zoran Mamdani and others, indicate that the far left might have an edge in the upcoming midterms. Now, before you go getting all mad about this, remember, it's a long way until November. A lot happens before then. First of all, we haven't even had like the Washington primaries. Yes, I know the Washington primaries determine so much. Summer ain't over yet, guys. A lot can change in this race. The poll found that 32% of registered voters said they were more likely to vote for a candidate described as a Democratic Socialist, while 50% said they were less likely to vote for the Democratic Socialist. If the candidate was self-described as a supporter of the MAGA movement, only 27% of registered voters are more likely to vote for them versus 57% saying they were less likely. So you know what that means? Everybody has an independence problem. Everybody has a people in the middle problem. This poll to me breaks it down as the people who like socialism are going to vote for socialists. The people who like Democrats are going to vote for socialists. The people who like Republicans, the people who like MAGA are going to vote that way. Everybody in the middle is up for grabs. That's what that sounds like to me. It sounds like, dude, I'm just trying to pay my gas bills right now. Can we not talk about politics right now? That's what it sounds like to me. However, there's another poll here. And as I keep saying, and I keep saying this time and time again, it's early, especially for 2028. Lots can happen between now and then. Look what happened with Rubio and Vance in just a year. A new poll says that Democrats are looking at AOC or Pete Buttigieg as their nominees in 2028. Really? Oh, please, God, run these guys. Please. Oh, please do the AOC Pete Buttigieg combination. Let's do this. Yes, I can't wait. Oh, you know how many times I'm going to get to play that clip where you realize AOC sounds like the gal from Blazing Saddles? I'm tired. That's what she sounds like when she gives the speeches. That's what it is. Okay, my impression's terrible. We can all acknowledge that, right? Up next, final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories. Now that our phone line is back up and running. Plus, breaking story out of New York. Looks like Mom Donnie's minions are motivated. Tell you what's going on. We come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free-for-all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text our recently restored full-power studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Democrats keep claiming they're all about affordability, yet keep trying to make life less affordable for you. But before we get to any of that, got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
Apparently there was a stabbing outside a Jewish center in New York, and the suspect was yelling, Allahu Akbar. Didn't see that one coming after the week we've had with Mamdani. In fact, Jewish institutions have been on high alert since his comments. According to intrepid reporter Jessica Russack Hoffman over at the Jewish News Syndicate, Nava Silton, youth director at the Jewish Center, was packing up and readying to leave the modern Orthodox synagogue on the Upper West Side of Manhattan after running a program for the Jewish fast of Tisha B'Av, which is today. Yes, you can ask me later how I have so much energy when I've been fasting since last night. She chatted with a friend, a 50-year-old man, who was leaving after praying the afternoon service of Mincha, as it's called. Soon thereafter, she heard that someone had been stabbed outside the synagogue. After running down the stairs and asking security what happened, she learned that it was the man with whom she had been talking, and that he had just been taken to the hospital. A man sitting on the stairs of a nearby church who was eating his lunch told her that he heard somebody yell Allahu Akbar, and when he looked up, he saw someone stab someone else in the right side of a chest with a screwdriver. Quote, then the guy had the gall to walk up to him sitting there by the steps and say something like, somebody should probably call 911. Someone on the street is hurt. Like he was trying to pretend that someone else did it. Like he was trying not to look culpable. Silton told JNS she visited her friend in the hospital. I was a little shocked because I thought the attack was more superficial and not as deep. The victim told Silton after he was stabbed, he pulled the screwdriver out of his chest, fearing that he might fall on it and worsen his injury. Jessica Tisch, commissioner of the New York City Police Department, stated that this afternoon, 2 people were stabbed in separate attacks on the Upper West Side. Both victims, an Asian male and a Jewish male, were taken to Mount Sinai St. Luke's Hospital, and both are expected to survive. The NYPD has arrested 51-year-old Raul Morales in connection with both assaults, and no other people are being sought. That's random. Did expect the name to be Raul Morales. I expected a little bit more Middle Eastern flair off of that one. Or is it just, hey, saying Allahu Akbar is trendy? Or is it just this person's a crazy homeless person and they just say that stuff? You know what? I was going through Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago. We were getting yelled anti-Semitic stuff at us as we were just walking down the street. Some of it was coming from the homeless people. A little random. They said here that detectives are continuing to work the case and determine motive, but according to victim statements, Morales yelled Allahu Akbar during both attacks. The NYPD is currently evaluating whether this is a potential hate crime. What do you think motivated this guy? While the perpetrator has no known mental health history with the NYPD, the initial investigation suggests that mental health may have been a factor. Does that mean homeless? At this time, there's no known link between Morales and either victim, nor between the victims and each other. 5 hours after the attack, Mayor Zoran Mamdani stated he was briefed on today's horrifying stabbings on the Upper West Side, where an Asian man and a Jewish man were attacked. So, you mean that Zoran Mamdani is horrified because more Jews weren't killed, right? That's why he's horrified after the week he's had? After the week talking about how he's mourning the Hamas terrorists and all the evils of Netanyahu and Israel. Dude, I don't want to hear it from you. Shut the you-know-what up. I'm tired of it. Oh, you've been briefed. Oh, one of your staffers came into a room. Hey, a Jew got stabbed on the Upper West Side. And Mamdani goes, so? What else? What's for lunch? What are we doing today? I've been briefed. Well, great. Well, it's really been, you coordinating with the NYPD at all? Are you concerned about this at all? Especially given the fact that it's a Jewish holiday today? Especially given the fact that your remarks all week? No. Being briefed is what he says when he doesn't know what the hell to say. By the way, I took his little statement from yesterday that he put out. We were talking about this on the show yesterday. His little statement. Put it through AI generator. to see if the AI detector, to see how much of his statement wishing everybody a peaceful Tisha B'Av, that's the holiday today, 100% AI generated. 100%. Basically, say to AI, hey, there's a Jewish holiday today, but I don't want to acknowledge that it has to do with the fact that the Jews are mourning the destruction of the temple. Can you write something for me? Sure, no problem, says ChatGPT. Here you go. Post it. According to the witness and the victim's statements, the perpetrator yelled Allahu Akbar during both attacks. Gee, I wonder why Mamdani's not saying more. Why do you think that Zoran Mamdani, the jihadi, who said from the river to the sea, who called to globalize the intifada, hey, globalizing the intifada, that's what this looks like. That's what it looks like when you have stabbings on the Upper West Side outside of a Jewish center of a Jewish man. The NYPD's initial investigation suggests that mental health may have been a factor. Well, a normal person does not go stabbing people. They don't go doing this. NYPD told JNS that officers respond to a 911 call about an assault at about 1:30 p.m. near West 84th Street in Central Park West on Manhattan's Upper West Side on Thursday. Officers saw a 57-year-old man and a 50-year-old man alert and conscious, each with a stab wound to the torso. Both were hospitalized in stable condition. They are still considering whether or not it's a hate crime. He said Allahu Akbar and stabbed two people outside a Jewish center. Hang on, let me think on this for a second. Do you think it's a hate crime? Survey says, yeah, it's a hate crime. Rabbi Alan Schwartz of Congregation Ohev Tzedek used to be my rabbi in college, as a matter of fact. He also he's the rabbi of the synagogue which the victim attends, told JNS that the full force of the law must be brought down on the attacker. He says there has to be a price to pay for Jewish blood and Jewish harm. There is mayhem going on. He said we're a tiny percentage of the population, yet we're over 50% of the attacks, and the mayor's diatribes don't help, of course. Thursday is Tisha B'Av, fast day marking the destruction of the two Jewish temples in Jerusalem, among other tragedies, as many Jews spend hours in synagogues during the fast. The incident occurred on a day after the United Jewish Teachers requested enhanced NYPD presence near synagogues and Jewish institutions after jihadi mayor Zoran Mamdani shared a video in which he called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal and should be arrested. Schwartz said the fast is a time when we're all trying to get together, trying to have more ahavas chinam, baseless love, and take a look at what we have to contend with on such a day. He says we're all preparing for the month of Elul, which is the month that leads up to the high holidays. On Tisha B'Av, we're busy with introspection. They're busy with their hate. It's just awful that this should come to a neighborhood like the Upper West Side, which is such a progressive neighborhood, he says. All the Jews are very much united. The fact that this victim is a visibly Jewish person, wears a yarmulke, I think he was targeted. Dani Danon, Israeli ambassador to the United Nations in New York City, told the outlet that Mamdani's incitement is putting Jewish lives in danger in New York, home to the largest Jewish community outside of Israel. He said the mayor has spent months fueling hatred, demonizing Israel, legitimizing hostility towards Jews. Now take responsibility for the consequences. Every time you pour more fuel on the fire, violence is more likely. Stop the incitement before more people get hurt. Mamdani's press office says there was supposed to be a 5 p.m. Talk with the People live stream. Did that happen? Oh, it was canceled. Mamdani canceled it because he's supposed to be taking questions on Twitch. What's the first question he's going to get on the live stream on Twitch? Do you think that your comments contributed to the dude yelling Allahu Akbar? Wonder why he canceled it. That's a head scratcher right there. That's really a head scratcher. Mamdani, what a coward. What an absolute coward. In the first month of Mamdani's term as mayor, anti-Jewish hate crimes were up 182% compared to the previous year. Since then, the New York City Police Department had twice changed the way it reports hate crimes, making it more difficult to compare statistics in recent months. You know what this is? That's Mamdani going, there's too many. Change it. You gotta change it. Can we get rid of like the Jews? Oh, wait, that's what's causing the hate crimes. We have to change the way we classify hate crimes. Too many are happening to the Jews. Too many. Ina Vernica, a friend of the show, Jewish member of the New York City Council, said the attack comes a day after Mamdani incited more violence against New York City Jews. She said, I pray for the speedy recovery of the victims. I never typically use this type of language on social media, but F you, New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani. This is great. I should call her. I have to tell her to watch her mouth, though, when she comes back on the show, because that dumb button, we don't always get to it fast enough. I'm sorry to be laughing about this. I don't know what else to do. I really don't. Zoran Mamdani's rhetoric is literally calling for people to attack Jews. He's saying, well, we don't like Israel, so we should arrest Bibi Netanyahu. We should do that. You know, I remember Zoran Mamdani having some pretty strong words when Trump went in and took out Maduro and arrested him. And he was all condemning it, getting all mad about it. But yet Zoran Mamdani wants to arrest Bibi Netanyahu when he comes to New York City. Number one, dude, you don't have the authority to do so. Not at all. Number two, it's another broken campaign promise, which you can't follow through on. Number three, how about any of the other people that are coming to the UN? How about, let's just throw this one out here for a second. Palestinian authorities coming there. You want to arrest them? They're still paying terrorists. Anybody from China? You want to arrest them? They have concentration camps. How about them? How about anybody from Iran? You know, they're responsible this week alone for the deaths of 4 Americans. You want to arrest them? No, just the Jews? Just the Jews. Now we see what's going on here. We fully understand what's going on here. Oh, by the way, remember yesterday I told you about how Zoran Mamdani posted a message for the fast today, wishing a peaceful Tisha B'Av to Jewish New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. From sundown tonight until tomorrow, mourners will pause and reflect on the history and resiliency of the Jewish people. May all observing have a safe and meaningful fast. The thing that I dumped into ChatGPT detector, and it said it was 100% done by ChatGPT. That's right. So Mamdani posts that. And all of a sudden, everybody in the Hamas caucus who's running for office starts doing the same thing. Dr. Abdul El Sayed, the lunatic from Michigan, wishing a meaningful fast to all those who are observing Tisha B'Av in Michigan and around the world. Okay, you guys are 2 of the biggest Israel haters on the planet. You know that this day is commemorating the destruction of the first and second temple in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, that's what the holiday is all about. And you know that the destruction of the second temple occurred at least 500 years, that's 5 centuries for those keeping track, before Islam existed. And yet you still want to claim that's your holy site? Sure. Okay, we'll go with that for a second. Many other Jewish tragedies happen on this day. The expulsion from England, the expulsion from France, the expulsion from Spain, the mass deportation of Jews from the Warsaw Ghetto, the 2005 withdrawal of Jewish communities from Gaza. All of this stuff happened on this same day. It's a bad day for Jews, and now we can add a stabbing on the Upper West Side of Manhattan in 2026. Thanks, Zoran Mamdani. Really do appreciate that. Really, really do. Jewish communities are increasing their security up the wazoo because this guy can't keep his mouth shut. This is who you elected. I saw the other day Piers Morgan on his show, which is basically just a televised edition of the Jerry Springer show. It's just been brought into our century here. It's been brought into our decade here. Jerry Springer's dead, right? There's no more Jerry. Yeah, he's very dead. Super dead. So anyway, Piers Morgan, he just brings in all these people because he just wants the clicks. He brings on Curtis Sliwa. Curtis Sliwa is ranting and raving about Jews. I'm like, dude, you gave us Mamdani. You had no chance of winning that mayoral race. You refused to drop out. Not that I think Cuomo is any great shakes. You just had terrible candidates in that race. But you are literally responsible for Mamdani getting elected. And you're going to rant and rave about Mamdani? Spare me. Spare me. You know, Mamdani, he's no dummy, by the way. Why do you think he canceled that Twitch stream? Mamdani is promising now free babysitters to New Yorkers. You want to go out for a night? We'll get you free babysitting. You want a creeper found by the Mamdani administration? But because you're promising free stuff, people go for it. People get excited by it. Give us the free stuff. They just want the free goodies. They're all really, really excited about it. Don't realize that, yeah, my friends, nothing in life is actually free. Nothing in life is free. Somebody is paying for it. Why is my rent so high? Well, we raised your property taxes so we could give out the free babysitting. You did what now? Ari, why are my property taxes so high in Seattle? Well, you guys voted so you could get democracy vouchers. What's a democracy voucher? Oh, it's that stupid thing where we charge you money so you can give it to political candidates. Wait, a what? Wait. Are a lot of people using these things? No, not really. Just some people have realized the grift and are using them. And like that guy who ran for Seattle mayor a couple cycles ago, who used all the money to buy headphones and haircuts, and was actually working for the Seattle City Council at the time and wouldn't pay his rent. Yeah, that's what the money's going towards. That's what the money's going towards. It's absolutely crazy. You just promise people free stuff, and they'll vote for you. This is why the polls are showing that the Democratic Socialists of America are outperforming heading into the midterms. If there's a message you want to get across to everybody, it's that nothing is free in this world, my friends. Nothing is free at all. But yet you promise people a bunch of free stuff. They're going to vote for you, right? Say, oh, we'll give you reparations. Oh, free cash? I'll take it. Sonny Hostin promising reparations, right?
And so what this is about is money, Joy. Yeah. This is not about anything else. It's about this country trying to avoid paying African Americans our due. Well, and also,
Hang on a second. Weren't your ancestors slave owners? Didn't you go on that TV show where you find out who you actually are and you found out your ancestors were slave owners? What was her reaction to that?
wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living.
Now pay me my money. Oh, wait. Now she's justifying it? She was just justifying slavery. This is how some people made their money, I guess.
You go back, sniffing around in history and your family and, you're going to find some bad people. I mean, it just different times, different things. You really shouldn't get too cocky in present day about how good your family is and things like that. Like, just go back a little ways.
We'll find some weird stuff, guarantee it.
I say it all the time. Humans are garbage species.
Well, look, me especially, I don't know what's in my family tree. Okay.
I don't know either, dude.
Yeah,
mine either.
I'll tell you this. My wife's family, very well documented. Okay. My mom's side of the family, very well documented. My dad's side, not so much. I'm convinced space aliens just dropped them here. I know sort of where they came from at a certain point, but I don't know what's back there.
The original Dodge roll that I know of that came here, that this is the rumor in my family, was a red coat who just stayed here and was like, yeah, I'm not going back, and he just went AWOL. That's the rumor.
So wait, then we like him.
He was a blacksmith.
He's a deserter of that other side.
He was a blacksmith, and apparently it was Doddridge was his original name, and he switched it. So
I like that.
That's the rumor. That's as far back as I know.
Go with it. Go with that. Just own that, man. Yeah, he left them redcoats because they wanted to tax our tea and our sugar and our stamps. And no representation of the people with that taxation. And didn't like that whole quartering soldiers of the British Army. See, I would lean into that, dude. I really, really would. But yeah, Sonny Hostin. Oh, reparations. Pay yourself. People will just go for the free stuff. People just want the free stuff. And you promise all this stuff, and then you find out at the end it wasn't actually free. But worse than that, you find out at the end, wait a minute, this stuff isn't even good either. Up next, my friends, lots more to discuss. Seattle City Council promised you all this free stuff. Instead, guess what they're going to be doing? Hiking your utility bills 20% over the next 2 years. Give you all the horrible details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, if you're having some trouble with your voting ballots, you can text the word VOTE, V-O-T-E, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And I will send you my voter's guide. You can also go to kvi.com right now. It's up on the main page, and hopefully it will help you out. If you have any questions, email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Dan in Puyallup during our final hour free-for-all. Dan, what's going on?
I got a quote for you, Ari. Tell me if you can identify the guy that said it. Taking money from people who never owned slaves and giving it to people who never were slaves is insane.
That's a good one. Why don't you tell us all who said that one?
Thomas Sowell.
There you go. Are you on social media? Are you on social media, by the way?
No.
Okay.
Bit of irony there, huh?
There's a page which does just Thomas Sowell quotes. They do just his quotes.
Really?
And every day one pops up, and I'm just like, I'm sure they have a newsletter. I'm sure you can get an email about it. Right?
He's one of the most brilliant men of our time.
I completely agree. Completely agree. Great point, Dan. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Robin Lakewood wants to know where Mamdani was at the time of the stabbing. No, dude, they got a guy in custody. I don't think he did it himself, at least. Or not really. Well, okay, all right. We don't think he really did it himself. Meanwhile, switching gears over here for a second, President Trump today revealed a program that they've been working on. He unveiled a program they've been working on, which is meant to deal with all the lies they've been talking about data centers, which the left is like, data centers are evil. They're going to eat up our electricity. How dare they bring jobs to our area and taxes and actually, use up office space and use up warehouse space. It's not like here in Seattle, we don't have a 37% office space vacancy. They're talking about putting a data center in part of the Starbucks headquarters because it's been vacant for so long. And of course, the locals like, no data centers. So why are they mad about the data centers? Because they don't know anything about data centers. I had to do my homework on data centers and how they work. First of all, you do know that we're surrounded by data centers. Kevin, there's a data center on the other side of this building. Literally has all our hard drives in it. It is right there. Guess what that is? A mini data center. They are all over the place.
Yeah, but aren't these AI ones and like crypto stuff? It's a lot different, right? They consume way more energy than your typical data center,
Absolutely,
right?
they do. Absolutely, they do. But these things have been around for decades.
Not AI ones.
They use more energy, 1,000%.
That's way more computing power.
Okay, but then you have an energy problem, right? So your problem is energy. So what does that mean? Produce more energy. Create more energy. Not, okay, this technology is coming. You know what? We just give up. You know what? Somebody invented this thing called a car, but they require gasoline. You know what? We're not going to put stations anywhere. We're not. You know what? Somebody invented an electric version of that sucker. We're not going to put chargers anywhere. We're just going to let you figure it out for yourself. That's your issue, right? Where do you get the energy from? So you know what you could do? Remember when Amazon was moving into Seattle as opposed to moving out to Seattle? Kevin, you ever coming through Mercer? You ever coming that way where they redid the whole
never.
area? Never?
Never. Not at all,
Okay.
Ari.
I've been going more
all
often.
the time. That's where I come and go,
That's
dude.
where you go. That's where you live. That's how you get to the
about
freeway.
it all the time.
We all do. But remember what it used to be like before they had all the streets and the traffic lights and the buildings and all
It's
the
still
stuff?
pretty bad, man. But
I'm not saying it's good.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's good.
Yeah.
But
and
remember,
especially with this nonsense construction that's going on. Okay, but yes,
it's
I
terrible.
go down Mercer. Yes.
In fact, now I am one of you. Why? It got so bad getting off at Seneca, which is where I usually get off, that now I have to go to Mercer. So now I am choosing to go to Mercer because it is better than Seneca. That's how bad things have gotten. Anywho, my point is they built up all the stuff around there and they said to Amazon, well, you want to build this building, you got to redo that street and you got to build that park and you got to redo that intersection. And guess what? Amazon paid for all of it. So you want your data center? Then you know what you can say to the data people? Hey, data people, if you want your data center, how are we going to solve the energy problem? Maybe we upgrade our infrastructure. Seattle City Lights been needing to upgrade its infrastructure for a long, long time. How about you pay for some of that? No problem. No problem. But instead they just said, nope, 1-year moratorium. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. So the president said, well, I got a different idea. We can actually do this and it's going to be great. And here's my plan.
Since I introduced this plan just a few months ago, more than 220 utilities, tech companies, state governments, and other partners have signed our ratepayer protection pledge. Electricity rates for 80% of the power distributed in America are now being kept in check by the plan.
Okay. So, did that. Press secretary got into a few more details about it. It's good to have Caroline Levitt back.
President Trump will participate in a historic ratepayer protection pledge event at the EPA headquarters down the street. The president will expand the ratepayer protection pledge to governors, state legislatures, developers, and power providers to ensure that everyone involved in building and powering data centers pays their own way, instead of passing those costs on to hardworking families. The president will be joined by Energy Secretary Chris Wright, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, and several governors who have already signed on to this pledge, and it has already proven to be remarkably successful. Nearly 200 additional stakeholders have signed on since it was first announced, including utilities, data center developers, public power authorities, co-ops, and state governors. As a result, the pledge now covers 80% of all the power delivered to American homes and businesses. President Trump's bold leadership is turning data centers from a source of concern into engines of growth and opportunity for communities across this country, all while cementing America's dominance over China in the global AI race. The president is ensuring the American people are never left footing the bill so private companies can benefit. Instead, President Trump is leveraging the data center boom to deliver real, tangible benefits for working families and small businesses.
Do you realize what they're doing here? They're basically shooting down all the arguments against data centers, saying, okay, all the people who are shilling for China who say we shouldn't be building data centers because China wants to be dominant in the AI race. This is our modern day space race, guys. I don't think you get it. This is our modern day technology race. So they have used through their propaganda, oh, data centers are bad. Great. Well, let's address the problems you claim you have. You think it's going to make utilities more expensive? Then how do we make utilities cheaper? Now, Seattle City Council, they said, let's hike utilities. We know we talk about affordability all the time. They voted for a 20% rate increase. 9.5% this year, 9.5% next year, 20% rate increase from Seattle City Light. You know, didn't they just sign a moratorium on the data centers? No data centers for a year? Could have said to that data center that wants to come in, hey, guys, we got this big infrastructure issue we got to do with Seattle City Light. Can you pay for it? Hey, we've got this big power problem. Can you help us with it? Instead, no data centers. No data centers for a year. And now you're paying 20% more in taxes. So while President Trump is saying, here's how we solve the problems, here's how we fix things, and here's how we make power great again, instead the Seattle City Council is like, give us your money. Money, please. That's what the Seattle City Council is saying. Insane. Absolutely insane. Well, how's it looking for the midterms, my friends, while the Democrats are offering all these freebies? Chair of the National GOP, Casey Crosby, will be joining us next. Tell us what the polling's saying. Also, what about all that election integrity stuff? She'll give us all the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Today's Newsmaker Spotlight brought to you by our friends over at Renewal by Andersen, Western Washington windows and doors for every home. You know, I'm old enough to remember last week when President Trump gave a big primetime press conference from the White House, and he said there has been evidence uncovered of illegal aliens voting in our elections. And I'm old enough to remember that certain networks didn't want to cover it and didn't want to air it. And I'm old enough to remember a whole bunch of commentators online saying it was all fake and all debunked. And then comes Democrat Governor Mickey Sherrill, one of the states that was noted in the president's remarks, one of the states that was noted in the Department of Homeland Security's report about illegal aliens voting. And she goes, yep, they're voting, but it was under my predecessor, none under me, so we're going to fix it, and you don't need to do that SAVE Act. I think that's about an accurate summary of the past 7 days or so. Joining us now to discuss on the KVI studio line, co-chair for the GOP, the one and only Casey Crosby. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. So, were you surprised that she actually admitted it?
I mean, yeah, I was surprised. I'm not surprised at the fact that what the president said is accurate, but I am surprised that she came out. And it's funny because it's like we say, it's just a finger pointing game now with these people. It's we know what's going on. We're uncovering it, and here we have a governor who actually came out and admitted it. But yet she's still trying to blame other people. She's blaming the company, and now the company's come out and said, or the contractors, no, it wasn't us. It was actually your people who were doing the registrations. And so lots of finger pointing going on. But what we do know is that it is completely unacceptable to have non-citizens on American voter rolls, period. And the president's getting to the bottom of this. He is committed to it. His administration's committed to it. We're committed to it at the RNC. And they're showing us it is a problem.
So we still have Republicans that are saying they're not going to back the SAVE Act. So what do we do about that? I mean, does President Trump have to get on the phone and say, hey, I know a whole bunch of you are going into elections this season. What is it going to take for some of them to move on this thing?
Yeah, I think President Trump has been very active, and there is no question where he stands on that issue, as well as the Republican National Committee. I mean, we are publicly in support of the Save America Act. We have got to clean up our elections. And, I tell people all the time, they've got to get involved. This is a common sense issue. It's like you said at the intro. I mean, some of these things are just completely common sense. And you can remember when you felt good about your elections going and that your vote was safe and secure. And so these are common sense issues. I mean, people should be able to feel like U.S. elections are safe and that their vote counts, and illegal aliens are not voting in U.S. elections. And so I tell people all the time, they have got to get involved and engaged. They have got to call their elected officials and let them know where they stand. This is not just a Republican issue. Democrats, independents, across the board support proving you're a U.S. citizen and showing your ID when you go to vote. And it's so simple, and it's insane that anybody can't support this. And so the people need to let their elected officials, they work for them, they need to let them know where they stand, and the pressure needs to be put on.
Yeah, just to show you kind of problems we have with our election system here, and these are minor problems we have in Washington. My wife's name has been wrong on her ballot since we moved to Washington. Literally been wrong the whole time. Does not match her ID. She has tried to change it repeatedly, and yet they keep issuing the wrong one. So this is a little small thing, and then we find out bigger stories like how an Olive Garden pasta pass requires a photo ID, but not to vote in Washington. Better yet, the case we discussed last week, where one of the nearby ski mountains where we all take our kids, they require photo ID, not voter ID. They require photo ID on your lift ticket. And yet we don't require that to vote. Do you think this is disenfranchising voters? Do you think this is keeping people away from the polls who just say they throw up their hands and say my vote doesn't matter anyway?
Well, we certainly hope not. We want everybody to take their constitutional rights serious and get out and vote. And, it's important that people vote, but it also shows you just what you said. This is completely a common sense issue. When you travel, you have to show a form of ID and prove you are who you say you are. And it just goes back to, we've lost our common sense. I mean, even these Democrat senators and representatives, when they have their rallies, they make people show their photo ID to get into their own rallies. We are in a battle right now, I believe, of just common sense, versus absolute crazy. And the Democrats have just gone so far left and have just bowed down to the left liberal Democrat socialist of their party. They're willing to do anything. And to them, it's not about doing the right thing. It's about doing winning and having power.
In the last few minutes, we have with Casey Crosby, who's chair of the GOP. So something that's fascinating that you just mentioned in your last comment there is the DSA takeover of the Democratic Party. And regarding the Republicans have been kicking out the lunatics, the fringe, the anti-Semites. But it seems like the Democrats are doubling down on all that insanity. How does it look to you going into the midterms?
Listen, I think for the life of me, I can't understand why they keep doubling down on this insanity and why they continue to support candidates who have such extreme views. I mean, we're not talking about these are little left of center candidates. I mean, they even say Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer are too centrist for them and aren't far enough left, and that they want to get rid of them. I mean, they want to abolish ICE. They want to defund the police. They want open borders. They don't want people. It's like the Supreme Court. They want to eliminate the Supreme Court and the Senate and have the House determine who serves, and they're accountable to the House. I mean, if you get on their website, they have their platform out there, and it is some of the most craziest, loony ideas. And that's what they're wrapping their arms around and supporting, and their candidates. So going into these midterms, we feel pretty good because the character and caliber of our candidates are just outstanding. President Trump has endorsed in several races. We have wonderful people running, easy for us to get behind and support. And as you know, if you look at the Cook Report, we're going to win this midterm election by a handful of districts across the country. We know where we need to be. The data shows us near where we need to be, and they're such a disaster. They're $18 million in debt. We have $128 million cash on hand. We're working closely with our sister committees, the Congressional Committee, the Senatorial Committee, and we are unified as a party. And so we feel very good going into these midterms. And again, they're just in self-destruction mode, it appears.
Casey Crosby, co-chair for the GOP, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And you know when something has gone so viral, it's not cool anymore when mom and dad find out? That's Jimothy. Jimothy right now is just reached that level where it just ain't cool no more. I mean, I kind of chuckled at this, even though it's really bad Photoshop. The White House posted this. The White House posted a picture of Jimothy. And it says, Jimothy spotted on his way to Washington, D.C. And it is a bad Photoshop version of a hat on Jimothy that says, Trump was right about everything. Okay, when the government's making memes about something, it has reached the zenith. We are done. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, this thing jumped the shark a long time ago. It jumped the shark after the first 2 or 3 hours it came out.
Yes. Apparently, by the way, there's more than one of these deformed raccoons out there.
I'm sure there are.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
It's Ballard. How much meth did they get into out there? What else did they eat at the pregnant mom eat at a homeless encampment?
I wasn't thinking locally. I was thinking
This thing's local. It's from Ballard.
I know where it's from, but I didn't know you're claiming there's multiple in the area.
Yeah, apparently there's a whole bunch of them in. You know what I think? I think there's a deformed mom raccoon having deformed baby raccoons. Look, we had that story not too long ago about the meth content of our salmon, of our sushi, having meth in it. You don't think that something happened here with the Jimothy? I feel bad. But yet another reason that drug-addicted parents should not have children. Hey, we're coming back to that whole discussion again. Look at
And welcome back to the good news segment of the Ari Hoffman Show.
Okay, I did pick animal good news stories for today.
Oh, you did?
I did, because I do like the baby animals. So, according to Como News, with a little help from friends, Woodland Park Zoo's 2 western lowland baby gorillas now have official names, Cadre and Oku. I don't know what either one of those mean. It's not spelled the Cadre the way you know it. Both infants are male. Cadre was born on May 18th to mom Jumani. Oku was born May 24th to mom Olympia. Mom's name is Olympia? You named her after a city? By emergency C-section. The first C-section for a gorilla at Woodland Park Zoo in its 126-year history. Oh, man. It just took me right back to my childhood. Your mom is so fat, she's named after a city. Oh, man. Total reversion right there. The zoo said the names reflect part of the species range in Central Africa's lowland tropical forests and swampy clearings. There's a place in Central Africa's lowland tropical forest and swampy clearings named Olympia? Oh, it is kind of swampy. It is the mini swamp. Cadre's name, meaning helper and supporter, in the Mandinka language, was chosen by Woodland Park Zoo board member Jill Walker and her husband Scott Walker, who were given the naming opportunity as a token of gratitude for their longtime support of the zoo. Hey, ChatGPT, what's the oddest name you can come up with for these gorillas? Oh, okay, thank you. We're so honored to have the privilege of naming the baby gorilla Cadre, meaning helper and supporter, in the Mandinka language. Feels fitting for this young ambassador who helped connect visitors to conservation and future gorillas. Yeah, but you get in that cage with him, he'll rip your arms off. The zoo noted that Mandinka is spoken across West Africa. Oku was named by Dr. Emily Norland, chief obstetrician gynecologist at Swedish Medical Center, who was on the surgical team that performed Olympia's C-section. The zoo said Oku is the name of a mountain in Cameroon in Central Africa. In an unusual turn, the babies are being cared for by the opposite mothers. Olympia's baby Oku is being cared for by Jumani, and Jumani's baby Cadre is being cared for by Olympia. The zoo said while Olympia recovered from surgery, Jumani cared for both infants. A couple of weeks later in June, Cadre was not thriving, spent a couple of days in the zoo's hospital under 24-hour veterinary care while learning to bottle feed. After he left the hospital, staff placed Cadre with Olympia, who the zoo said was more inclined to allow keepers to help with the bottle feeding if needed. Otherwise, they'll rip your arms off. I'm sensing a theme here. We were presented with this rare opportunity. Instead of returning Jumani's baby to her care, we gave him to Olympia. Now both gorillas can care for and raise babies, said Martin Ramirez, curator and mammalogy? Mammalogy, okay, at Woodland Park Zoo. The moms and babies get to remain close in the same family group, and both moms have an infant to care for. Essentially, Olympia and Jumani have become foster moms to each other's babies, and now both are providing excellent maternal care. Olympia and Jemani also have a shared history, the zoo said. They both gave birth the first time in 2012 to sons just weeks apart while living together at the North Carolina Zoo and successfully raised them together. The zoo said the new infants are the first offspring for dad Nadaya. Wait a minute here. One dad for both. Okay. All right. The only thing I'm going to make here is it's one boy gorilla and two girl gorillas. That dude must be living the life. People bring him food all the time. All right. Woodland Park Zoo currently cares for 13 western lowland gorillas living in 2 separate family groups. Visitors can see Cadre and Oku, the gorilla baby habitat, along the outside loop of the tropical rainforest. Okay, gotta tell the wife there's going to be baby gorillas at the zoo. She'll be very excited. We'll go check out the baby gorillas at the Woodland Park Zoo. Meanwhile, all right, this is one of the ones that Kevin's like, it's supposed to be good news, right? Yes, this is going to be good news. It's your opportunity to help out an animal shelter. That's why, my friends, okay? The Metro Animal Shelter in Puyallup, Washington is struggling to keep up with unusual increase in stray and abandoned dogs found in Puyallup parks in recent weeks. The officials believe many of the animals were intentionally left behind. About half a dozen dogs have been found in Puyallup parks in recent weeks, pushing the shelter to capacity. Many of the dogs have serious health issues and appear malnourished. Officials say they cannot pinpoint exactly why they are seeing more abandoned animals, but they point to several possible factors, including the rising cost of pet care and higher fees to surrender animals at local shelters. I don't think that's why it is, but sure, let's go with that. All of us, not just our shelter, are seeing an influx of animals, cats and dogs, living together that people are realizing don't work for them, whether it's an economic situation, a medical condition, or they're phasing housing has changed. There we go. That's what it is. Anywho, they are looking for people to adopt the pets. So if you can adopt the pet, what you do is you reach out to the Metro Shelter out there in Puyallup, and maybe you can take a dog home with you. Been looking for a dog? Always go to the shelter. Don't go to the pet stores, my friends. Officials are asking the public also to watch for suspicious activity and report if there is anyone they believe is abandoning the animal.
I'll say it again. Humans are garbage species.
Oh, yeah. Don't take in something you can't take care of, by the way. And if you can't take care of it, bring it back to the place and pay the fee and go, hey, sorry, I couldn't take care of a dog. This is why my wife, anytime I say I want a dog, she always goes, I'm not taking care of it. And you're not home most of the day. Mm-hmm. And then I found out, apparently, we don't allow pets in our studio here. Is that what it is?
I don't think so.
I think they're worried. I think the reason they said so, Ina had a good reason for that. She said it was something like, if somebody brings a dog and somebody brings a cat, then we're going to have drama in the studio, and they don't want to have the drama in the studio. I was just curious. I was just asking questions. That's all. Because, little pup can go right there in the corner of the studio and just sit there until they have to go poo, and then I got to run out there. I was going to say,
hike his leg up and just go like, hey, look at this soundproof wall here. It looks absorbent.
Let's just do it right there. And then it'll smell like that forever. In my office, when I was working with my brother-in-law, my father-in-law, my other brother-in-law, I had all these papers laid out on the floor one time, these applications for a trip I was running with the checks, with the everything. My brother-in-law was potty training his dog. Guess whose dog walked in and peed all over the checks and everything? Had to dry all that out. It was disgusting. Maybe there's a good reason we don't allow pets here in the office. But this is stopping my dream of owning a dog. But then the animals are so expensive. Then you got to take care. Anyway, go to the Metro Animal Shelter. Help them out. Help them out with the pets. You want to have a pet, you talk to the Metro Animal Shelter out there in Puyallup. Also, programming note for everybody. So you may have noticed that Del Walmsley retired. So now there's a little bit of a gap between us and Mark Levin. So we just got a sponsor. It's officially starting on Monday, going to be the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded from 6 to 7 p.m. thanks to our friend over at Wade's East Side Guns. So good news for that, my friends. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and more giveaways. You've been listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.